I'm not going to take much of your time because I've got to give a history of myself, but I'm 75 years old, and if I gave you my history, we'd be here till tomorrow morning. So I'm only going to give you the good stuff. We talked a lot about neighborhoods, the children, crime, so on and so forth. And I owned a bar in Allentown, just sold it about a year and a half ago for 37 years on 12th and Chew. And there's certain things I'm proud of with the bar. First of all, it was very successful for 37 years. And I'm proud to say I'm a good businesswoman. Number two, it was one of the best bars in Allentown that the FOP, when I first ran the first time, they endorsed me. They endorsed me again. The fire department has endorsed me. But I want to tell a story today, which I don't usually do. But because we had so many questions about crime and what are we going to do about it, our neighborhoods, one of the things I was most proud of all those 37 years I was in business, back in 1990, we had a group of kids in the neighborhood ranging from 7 years old to 13 years old, causing complete havoc. And of course, my bar was one of their favorite places to destroy. Eggs thrown, noise, they broke windows. They were very disruptive in the neighborhood. So rather than calling the police or whatever, what I did was I got two of the boys, and I asked them to get their little gang together and have a meeting in my bar. Outside, the bar wasn't open, and I said, I lured them with hot dogs and birch beer. So these kids came in, and I said, what can we do to help our neighborhood? This is where you live. Now, they were Spanish boys, black boys, and white boys. I think two girls. The rest were all boys. So what we came up with was, I told them that I would pay them, they had to sign up, I would pay them $10 a week. Each boy signed up a week. They had to clean up the neighborhood twice a day, in the afternoon and the evening. Not on 12th Street or Chew Street, but the back alleys and everything like that. These kids were so excited. There were about 15 of them. They were so excited to do this that they went from destroying our neighborhood, disrupting the neighborhood, to protecting the neighborhood. These kids were so proud of what they did. State Representative Jennifer Mann got wind of this, and she asked if we could have the newspaper there. The mayor, it was Mayor Hyde at the time, he came. They took a picture, and they named themselves. They call themselves the Kids That Care program. And you can look it up. It's in the archives of the Morning Call. These kids got their picture taken, front page of the Morning Call. I have to tell you, when they came home that day, Miss Candida, my principal took me up to the school. They laminated my picture and put it in the hallway. These kids were so proud of their neighborhood that they turned our neighborhood around. It was the children in the neighborhood. And if they saw adults trashing, it taught them a couple lessons. Don't trash, because if there was a lot of trashing, they'd have to work harder. They asked me, how do I approach someone that's, I said, be nice and say, please don't destroy my neighborhood. And this is what they did. So in the winter then, I didn't want them out in the cold, so we created a report card program. Anybody with A's, mostly A's and B's, got $10. B's and C's, $7. C's, you got $5. My doorbell would ring constantly, report card season. They'd be coming up, and they were so excited. Now, these children that were getting C's and D's were now trying to get B's, so they could, well, for money. And obviously, they became a competition. So at the end, I paid $50 to the person who had the most A's. All right? This boy, he wasn't a little boy, he was like 11, 12. His name was Iman. He came from a family of 10. He won that $50, the very first one. We had this program going for a while. 1 year, 2 won, and it cost me $100. But this particular one, $50. Do you know what he did with that $50? He had a pizza party for his family. He spent that money on his family. The reason I'm telling you this story is I am proud of what I did for that neighborhood. Oh, I'm proud of my bar. I'm proud of a lot of things I accomplished. But I know that these children grew up. Iman went to Temple. He's now a captain in the Army. And what I'm trying to make a point here is that, and by putting this in the paper, what we wanted to do is hope that other businesses would do the same, or people in the neighborhood. So if we get together and help our kids in the neighborhood, just give them anything to do, some pride, This is how we built. We need home ownership. We need roots. We need to have us adults to get out there and work with these children. I know the school system, so on and so on, but I'm talking about neighbors, helping each other, helping the neighborhood. From that experience, I then wanted to do something for the city. Long before I ran for council, I was on the parking authority. I'm a co-chair for 13 years. I'm on the disruptive conduct board. And that's for 10, 12 years. And this is long before I even decided to run, because I wanted to give back to the community. So a lot of the people that say, what can we do, what can we do? There are so many boards and commissions. I'm on the blighted property board. I've been on that for 12 years. So with all this experience, that's when I decided to run for city council. It wasn't easy these past 3 years. We had federal investigation. We had a mayor go to jail. We had a lot. It's been very hard for the city and for city council. But when I got there, it's not as easy as people think. You know, you walk in somebody else's shoes. When I got on council, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And yes, I did. I did do a lot. I created the nuisance abatement law because I had a bar, and my bar was never a nuisance. I was in a neighborhood, and I wanted to make sure that not one person that pays taxes and live in that block was going to suffer because I was making money on the corner. So when these bars start, the after-hours bars, the one on the View, these poor people, what they're going through because they don't have a liquor license, we can't shut them down. So I told Ed Pulaski, I said, we've got to do something. I said, well, let's take their city license, their business license away from them. We give them a business license to run a speakeasy. So I created that law. The law was passed. It's if you get 12 points in 6 months, we're going to take your business license away for a year. 18 points. Now, it's not only bars. It could be a grocery store, anything, a barber shop, Wawa. If they are, even if they're trashing the place, you don't only get a sweep ticket now, you get points. So these are things that I did, and when I decided that when I did win, I thought, I want to know everything there is. I went to the police academy 8 weeks, to the Citizen Police Academy, to try to know everything I could. Every Monday and Wednesday, I went to the police academy for 8 weeks to know everything I could know about the police department. And the things I found out, you know, we see the police, we know what they do, but until you go through the academy and know exactly what our men and women in blue do, it's amazing. And there's so much more respect when you do. I didn't know what public works was all about. I knew something about it. I did everything. They had me once a week. I met all the engineers. I even went down the sewers. I wanted to know what the sewer system looked like. So they let me go down. I went down to the sewers. I had 6 hours with our finance director to explain to me our budget. I went to all our park system with Lindsay, who was our park director at the time. I went to almost every aspect, every director, the police department, fire department. I went at the health department. Vicki Kessler spent an afternoon with me. I wanted to know everything there was to know about this city. And that experience, every time I vote, every time, don't think that we just get up there and we get the budget and we're just going. Every single time I vote, I bring all of that experience to the table when I vote. And I make sure, because I know one thing, we make one mistake in voting, it affects all of these citizens for years. And that has happened in the past. And I know that every time that I vote. And I made sure I studied, and I still do. I am still on all those boards. I haven't gotten off of them, aside from being HR. I'm head of the HR. I'm on the public safety, and that's my baby, the public safety. And the quality of life for all the citizens. So if you want experience, and the reason, like I told you that story, was because I've always cared about Allentown. I've always cared about public safety and quality of life. And really, don't give up on our youth. We can help them. They may have knowledge, we have the wisdom. And I hope to bring 4 more years to the city, because I have a hell of a lot more work to do. Thank you, and good night.
So my name is Cece Gerlach, and I am running for Allentown City Council. I am currently on the Allentown School Board. I've been there for just over 7 years. I'm in the last year of my second term. I am the least likely person to stand up here. I'm the least likely person to have been the vice president of the Allentown School Board for 2 years. I'm the least likely person to be running for Allentown City Council. I say that because my mom, she's just now learning to read. My mom is 59. My mom is 59 years old, and she's just now learning to read. I grew up with a single mom. A lot of folks who have spoken here tonight told some of their backgrounds. I grew up with a single mom, living in public housing. Never thought in the world I would go to college, but I did. I attended Cedar Crest College, and I graduated in 2008 with a degree in elementary education. And then I taught at a juvenile facility for about 5 years. And then right now, I am a mental health therapist. I've been there. It was supposed to be just a little temporary thing. I'm going on about 2.5 years there now because I love it so much. So I'm running for Allentown City Council because my experience on the school board has taught me how to work within a system but yet out of the system, because we all know sometimes systems are broken. So we all know sometimes we have to work out of the system, but yet in order to get things done, you have to know how to negotiate, you have to know how to compromise, and you have to know how to work with people. I've worked with people on the school board in the past who I was diametrically in opposition to, but yet we can come together, we can have a conversation, and we can negotiate and figure out the best solution. And I have a history of standing up when other people sit down, not just on school board, but in the community too. Now, understand that the school district in Allentown is nowhere where it needs to be. We realize that. We've owned that. We've owned mistakes that we didn't even cause. The school district has made improvements, though. We have lowered the dropout rate since my time on the school board. We have restored parts of the arts and the music and the gym classes in the Allentown School District. We have kids now that are going to Princeton. We have kids that are expanding their horizons. We have changed the administration to one that better reflects the school district, the city of Allentown, and to an administration that has a heart, that actually cares about the kids in Allentown. And that experience, being on the board for almost 8 years, is invaluable, and it translates directly into my role as a hopeful future city council member. On the city council, some of the things I hope to accomplish are restoring the city's focus from politics and personal agendas to people in neighborhoods. If you haven't noticed, those of you who live in Allentown, I live in Center City. I just bought a house. I'm a first-time homeowner. I live at 9th and Walnut. I'm 2 blocks away from billions of dollars of investment. I haven't seen it in my neighborhood. If you live on the south side, you haven't seen it. If you live on the east side, you haven't seen it. If you live in Center City itself and you're not on Billionaire Row, you have not seen it. There are policies we can put into place to make that happen. We cannot hope it. We cannot dream it. We cannot even protest it. We have to put policies into place so that when I'm off city council, when the mayor is gone, it won't matter who's in that seat. It will become institutionalized. It will just be status quo, the way we actually do business. Some of these policies are a community benefits ordinance, not an agreement, an actual law that says any development that is tax subsidized by our dollars must benefit the community in tangible ways. Now, unlike a lot of people who say this, I've actually fought for it. I've taken political hits. I've made political enemies. I have people who would never donate to my campaign, would never support me because of stances I've taken in the past when it comes to fighting for community benefits ordinances, when it comes to fighting for inclusionary zoning. Inclusionary zoning ensures that when a developer comes in, again, on our tax dollars, and he or she is building luxury high-rises that are $2,000, $2,500 a month that most of us in this room cannot afford, but yet we live here, we've been in Allentown through the good, through the bad, through the ugly. We deserve to benefit from those luxury high-rises. We deserve to be able to live in them if we so choose to. So inclusionary zoning forces the developer, not asks, not begs, not pleads, forces the developer to include a certain percentage of workforce housing within those luxury high-rises. It works in other cities. Nothing I'm saying is my idea. These are actual ordinances, actual laws that other municipalities have already enacted. A community benefits agreement, they're in place in over 300 municipalities across this country. Inclusionary zoning is in place in over 500 municipalities across this country. This is not rocket science. This is not pie in the sky. This is legislation. That's how we move Allentown forward. We need to make sure that whatever's done on city council outlives me, outlives the mayor, the new mayor, whoever it is, and that it helps the people. And that means nothing I say, nothing anyone here said matters unless you look at where we're getting our money from. Because if I stand up here and I tell you that I'm gonna stand up to any main developer, but yet I'm getting money from that developer to run my campaign, I'm not doing it. So I would encourage you to, yes, listen to all of us, but more importantly, it's public information. See where we're getting our money from, because that's what matters. Who funds our campaigns? That's who we're accountable to. And I will tell you, I don't take money from developers, and I don't take money from corrupt politicians. It's that simple. There are some politicians that are in bed with the developers. I won't take money from them, because taking money from them is the same thing as taking money from the developer. So again, I would encourage you to do that. Just Google our name and then campaign finance report, and you will see our information. I will post my information as soon as I think we report in May. I will post that publicly so you can see where I'm getting my money from, regular folks. So on city council, I will be the same leader that I've been on school board. I will stand up and step up when others step back. I'm not afraid to do that. I said things that have been said tonight, I've been saying when it wasn't popular. I've never been supported by anyone that has had less than favorable activities in the city, any illegal activities in the city. I've always stood on my own feet, and I will always do that no matter what position I'm running for. So again, my name is CC Gerlach. I would ask for your support for the 5 residents who are still here. The rest are politicians. So please, you can check out my website. If you got a buck, I'll be the one to ask. If you got a buck, please donate, because my campaign is it's funded by regular people. A buck or more, we could definitely use your support. Check my website out, and you can see the actual legislation that I intend to pass. Thank you. Oh, any questions?
What can be done now? Like, remember when Mr. came and you took them on and you made them accountable for planning jobs?
Yeah, so what Ms. Riddick was referencing, in 2014, myself and a group of residents, in fact, Patrick Palmer's aunt, Paulette, and a guy named Preston, and it's important to say these names because these are not politicians, these are residents, these are just folks like us. We led a grassroots effort to force the NISDA board. The NISDA board oversees the financing of the NIS. To force the NISDA board and to force the previous mayor and to force CareerLink to give first priority to Allentown residents at the arena, at all of the jobs that were created in the NIS. I gotta tell you, that's where some of the political punches came from, because we're saying, no, status quo is not good enough. we as Allentown residents deserve more. And when you push the boundary, when you say to the powerful that no, what you're doing isn't right, you will make enemies. So I would say if someone is running for office and everyone loves them, they're doing something wrong. Because I can tell you right there and that was, I think that is really when things, I kind of became a political outsider. When I was, trying to get people jobs in Allentown. Who would have thought, right? But, yeah. So.
Thank you. I just wanted them to know that about you, that's all.
Oh, okay, cool. Anybody else?
Anybody else want to ask a question?
No, they're thinking about the TV show.
Hi, folks. My name's Joe Huffman. I'm the Republican candidate for Allentown City Council this year. If you're a Republican, please vote for me in the primary on May 21st. If you are Democratic or Independent or no party, please vote for me in the general election on November 5th. I have a 3-point platform which I hope will get spread far and wide, even though the numbers here have diminished, which is almost completely financial. First, the city of Allentown needs both expenditure reduction and revenue improvement. Expenditure reduction comes from a tighter hold on that budget, of cutting things that are not necessary. Lower spending, tighter budgeting, lower taxes are all necessary for the growth and improvement of Allentown. Unfortunately, because of a decade and a half of mismanagement by the gentleman who is now in federal prison in Danbury, Connecticut, we had to put together an emergency package to just get the city out of bankruptcy almost. The problem I had was not with the 27% tax increase. The problem I had was that they never looked for any other alternative other than a 27% tax increase. As a 40-year veteran of grantsmanship for 6 different agencies, including 2 for-profits where I had to justify my continued employment every year, after raising $75 million worth of money for all manner and types of projects, from parks, recreation, police and fire stations, sewage treatment plants, police and fire staff, line personnel, equipment, anything you could imagine that is a municipal related activity, I've raised money for. And to simplify that as saying it's just grants is so far from the truth that I can't even begin to imagine how to correct you. The types of things that I want to raise for this city are non-tax, non-fee, and mostly non-grant sources of revenue. And yes, there are plenty. I've used them before. I've done them successfully in other communities, and I intend to do them here. As a matter of fact, during this campaign, I've already started on 2 projects leading hopefully to a grant program for certain sections of this community. In addition to that, I really want people to pay attention to a large group of Allentonians that, because they're caught in the middle between 2 extremes, they never get any attention at all. We all talk about people who live paycheck to paycheck. I'm sure you've heard the expression many times. I'm sure you know a lot of people who fall in that category. We also, of course, talk about homeless people who really are at the end of their rope, financially speaking, and perhaps otherwise, and who are getting attention from well-meaning city people and private sector people, just not enough. But there's that whole group in between the two that is technically still able to put a roof over their head, but cannot live from paycheck to paycheck. They get about halfway through. And at that halfway point, they can't buy food, they can't buy prescriptions, they can't put gas in their car, they can't go anywhere with their families to do anything because they simply run out of cash until the next paycheck comes. Those people need attention too, and they need a different kind of program than the ones that you would use for people living paycheck to paycheck or for homeless folks. The third item, which I really want to get across to people, and I really wish I could have got it across earlier, folks have to change their perception of minority and majority in this town. I'm here to tell you that 2 out of every 3 people that live in Allentown are not white. Many of them are Spanish-speaking, Hispanic, Latino, Latina. Quite a few are African-American. There is a significant Syrian-American population in this town, to the point that the Allentown School District hires Syrian language interpreters as well as Spanish language interpreters for their major events. And there's a significant Asian American population in this town. When you put them all together, they comprise 67% of the population. Well, by any mathematical standard I know, that's not a minority. What the new Allentown majority needs to do is, in the next 2, 4, and 6 years, when you're going to have 3 more elections besides this one, they need to develop a new group of leadership, people that we haven't even heard of today. Not, frankly, not folks like us, folks like you. And the way I propose to do it is to create a City of Allentown Millennial Leadership Council. It will bring in the best and the brightest of political and economic strategists to teach the young people ages 21 to 39 in this town exactly how to run for office and win, how to fill city line and staff positions, how to head nonprofit service agencies, and how to make sure that their opinion on matters of the day carries the day. I'm amazed, from my perspective, how so often we will talk about a group of people in Allentown, and you can pick any one you want. And we talk about it, and we come up with ideas as to what we think would be better or best for those people. My Millennial Leadership Council operates on the theory that what's best for those people is to enable them to take power. And when they take power, to be ready for it. Because they're going to anyway. That's what mathematics does. And eventually, sooner rather than later, the staff and the line and the elected and appointed officials of Allentown will look like you. But when that day comes, I want you to be ready so that you can implement the things you know. Have we ever talked to any homeless people about what do homeless people need? Have we ever talked to any high school dropouts? There's quite a few of them. I mean, Allentown School District tries its best, but it's only, 65, 70% graduation rate, somewhere in that range. Have we ever talked to those 30, 35% people? They didn't fall off the face of the earth. They're still there. What do they want? How would they see to get ahead in this world? I don't have all the answers. I am a 3rd-generation Allentown resident. My family has been in this town for 140 years. My father was the superintendent of recreation in this city for 23 years, from 1967 to 1989. The first place I ever learned to play baseball, Riverfront Park, it was called back then, because my coach, George Bucky Boyle, was still alive then. So every time I hear Buck Boyle Park, for all the manners and types of special events that are held there, Buck Boyle is right in my head. And so is all of Allentown's history. And I'm here to tell you, please, people, Allentown's history will help you if you get to know it and understand how we came to be. The last thing I want to say, since it's getting late, the one thing that this city desperately needs to do is revitalize and renovate its park system. You have one of the premier park systems on earth. I know that because in 1988, when I took a 3-week trip to Russia, I was taken off the bus on one day of the historic tour and taken to representatives of Moscow's Parks Department, and they had heard of Allentown, and they had known about us. And I tried, of course, as best I could 30 years ago to tell them what things were like. Well, as I said, I was at Riverfront Park 60 years ago. Riverfront Park became Boyle Park with a wonderful pool and a wonderful place to swim and a terrific park around it. And now 60 years later, Buck Boyle needs to be taken care of again. So if I get to serve you as your councilman, I am going to find the money necessary to cut your taxes, give you your money back, make sure it never gets taken out of your pocket in the first place, and improve and enhance this city by bringing in funds from a wide variety of sources. Thanks for listening to all of us tonight. I know this must have been even more of a marathon for you than it was for any of us. Thank you so, so much. Please, I have a website. I have lots of ways to get a hold of me. My helpers are here, Bob Walker, Ed White, and Lisa Walker, and I am always happy to answer any questions now or any other time. Thank you so much.